Hi, you've clicked onto today's tropical tidbit for Friday. Over here in the Atlantic, still not much really going on. We got a tropical wave moving into the Central America over here, bringing some rain to them. We got the remnants of Tropical Depression 5 still hanging around Alabama, and these may get pulled out off the South Atlantic coast over here in a few days, early next week. Might have to be watched with a trough split occurring, but we'll just keep an eye on those. Shouldn't be too much of a problem, but something to watch just in case. And we got a tropical wave over here with a moisture surge out in front of our developing Cape Verde storm over here. And if we zoom in on this, got the wave out in front, big plume of moisture coming out ahead of developing monsoonal depression. This is a classic setup for Cape Verde development. You got the wave out in front clearing out the dry air, and you can see at the end of this loop, look at that very nice circulation trying to develop over here. And this is within the monsoonal trough, but these things, if they wind up enough, can become their own entities, well closed off circulation, and become tropical depressions. You got a little bit of a spin coming off by itself over here. This should get overwhelmed by the overall circulation and get entrained, and if anything, this should rotate around and help clear out some of the dry air lingering in the northern side of the circulation. So this is on its way. This is developing right now. It was finally designated Invest 95L this morning by the Hurricane Center, and this should go ahead and develop by the time this week is over. By tomorrow night, I think this will be a tropical depression heading on its way west. Now, the models are all in agreement on recurvature of the system after wagging back and forth for many days on end. They finally settled on a recurvature track starting out west and then coming out. Now, there is a lot of disagreement on the upper pattern within the model, so the East Coast can't really ignore this yet. I would just keep a wary eye on this. If it comes west, what you want to watch for is when it starts gaining latitude. If this continues straight west and is still moving due west by the time it gets to 40 west over here, might want to be a little concerned. If it starts coming into this area instead of this area, then we might have to worry about some land areas getting affected. But if it starts gaining latitude before 40 west like the models are saying, then you can bet it's a recurve. Again, this is a storm that if it passes 20 north before getting to 60 west, it's probably going out. So this probably isn't a huge concern for the United States, but keep an eye on it anyway. And this is, at any rate, likely to probably become our first major hurricane of the season. This has a great shot at this. If this really can develop, it might be gradual on its way west over here, but when it starts turning into these really warm waters over here, I wouldn't be surprised to see this really blow up, and this could become a major fairly easily, be one of those classic storms, Cape Verde developments, that just curves out and bombs out on its way. So it'll be a nice, if it's a fish storm, it'll be really nice to watch. Very fun, finally see one of these things really blow up and try to learn some stuff about tropical meteorology. Let's look at the models over here. This is the European day 10. Now there's some interesting things going on with the models in that they're still disagreeing. They agree on one thing. They do agree on recurvature, and this is a recurving track on the European over here. But there's some interesting differences. You notice the banana ridge over the top over here. The trough is back here, and the European has a more progressive pattern in the upper levels than the GFS. The GFS has this previous trough. If we go back over here to day 7, you can see this trough coming through the northeast. They're in agreement to this point, but what the GFS does is it has this dig in to the northwest Atlantic over here and stay here, waiting for the storm to recurve out. And once the storm recurves out, then the trough lifts out. After that, the European says, no, I'm going to build the ridge right away north of the system. So you got the banana ridge over here, and you got the storm sitting down here. Also interesting to see that it develops this other wave that I was showing you behind it. Or maybe I didn't show you. Here it is back here. Second wave may try to develop behind this. The GFS doesn't develop this over here, but the European does. You can see it over here, northeast system. Interesting scenario over here with the two storms in close proximity. But there's a big difference here, and if you have this banana ridge again, now look at the ensemble mean. You got the ensemble mean spread from here to here, and this is a large spread in the possible locations of the storm, and this is the kind of thing that can put Bermuda in the mix over here. We can't forget about our friends over here in this island. This is the kind of situation where the ensemble mean has the storm right here. Bermuda's right there. Alright, so, and if this could be a major hurricane, this is a big deal, and that they would have to watch for this. If the European is right that the ridging builds in stronger over here, we may not have to be concerned so much for the eastern seaboard of the United States as we will for Bermuda right over here. And look at how strong the storm winds up over here. Now, the other thing to worry about for us here in the United States is that if the GFS is right and this big trough digs in, stays here, waits for the system to curve out, you want to watch for that. When the trough finally does lift out, the ridge will build in back behind, and you'll have to want to watch for a trough split to occur off the eastern seaboard over here or northeast of the Bahamas. And this actually happens, but further east on the European. If we go out, see the trough, it starts lifting out, you get the ridge building in strong behind, and check out the tail over here trying to get cut off. Storm sitting down here, day 10. Check it out, it splits off and ventilates the storm. Notice how in the 24 hours between when the split occurs, the storm's here, and notice how much it blows up. A difference of 25 millibars in 24 hours as this trough split starts ventilating it. You get outflow channels all over the place, and it's a little close in here, but the European still strengthens the storm. And this is the kind of situation that if the storm curves out east of 60 west, the GFS is right, that the trough stays in here, you get the ridge building in, you get a trough split in here, and you could ventilate something or try to get it to work down to the surface off the southeast coast. So something to watch for if the storm curves sufficiently far east, watch off the southeast coast, because the pattern argues for something being in here regardless of where this particular storm goes. Something to watch out for in here. And also, if we look at the shorter term, something I should probably mention is that this trough coming down, this is day 3, day 4, the ridge is building over the top, you got this down here, this is more of a baroclinic low over here, but the remnants of Tropical Depression 5 are currently over Alabama. I showed you that over here. Here's Tropical Depression 5. If we get this to come out into this front over here, might be something interesting to look at. And if this front drops down into the Gulf of Mexico, the northern Gulf of Mexico, we might also have to watch for troubles there with a trough split. So keep an eye on that for the early part of next week, as this will be stealing the headlines. But don't forget, homegrown mischief happens a lot during La Nina years. Something to keep an eye on. This is the 8 to 10 day 500 millibar height comparison. This is illustrating the differences between the models. Notice the Europeans got ridging, the GFS has a big trough. They both recurve the system. And the European is this out here, but this is the kind of situation where Bermuda is involved, and the differences here can mean the difference between this recurving way out to the east and coming farther west before recurving out, and could be a problem for Bermuda, something to really watch for. We can't forget about these guys. It cannot be an official fish storm if it hits an island that has people living on it. So keep an eye on this. You can see the pattern. I mean, look, it drops down the trough, right? And it recurves the storm, but the pattern is setting up that once this matures, the European's very progressive, but once it calms down and gets this sitting in here more permanently for September, that's when you can see a lot of storms trying to come to the United States without recurving out. And a lot of this recurving would be just it developing early and trying to move poleward, but you get these systems that wait to develop and then bomb out in here. You got problems for the eastern seaboard during the heart of the season, and this is something we'll be watching for. We're still going for large impact on the U.S. coast, and this pattern is still going to fire up. This is the kind of pattern that can lead to a lot of hurricanes and trying to come farther west. So again, I'll keep driving it home that the meat of the season is still on the way, and I still believe we're going to have a well above average numbers and above average impact on the United States coastline. So be ready for this heart of the hurricane season coming up. Watch this storm, watch for trough splits off the coast, and we shall see what happens. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.